Hey nerds, Jared Bear here. This is God of War Ragnarok 10 things you need to know by Game Ranks. Runtime is 16 minutes and 35 seconds, so strap in. I fucking love Game Ranks. The 10 things, I watch all these, but it's Ragnarok, so me and you got to watch together. This is what we need to know before this game comes out in less than 3 weeks. Without further ado, let's just get into it, all right? If you want to watch this without me talking, there's a link in the description box, all right? That's all I'm saying. Let's do it.
God of War Ragnarok is coming, and even though Sony is being extremely
I'm also coming
about the game, we've put together a pretty comprehensive list of all the info that's out there. Now, on top of all the gameplay changes, we will be talking story stuff. So
Tyr hiding behind
spoilers for God of War from 2018.
I'm fine with that.
As well as a discussion of some of the things seen in the trailers so far for this one.
Cool
now,
with that.
Note, there are leaks and rumors out there, but we're not touching any of that stuff. All the information covered here is publicly available, and we won't spoil anything not seen in the official trailers. We don't want to ruin it for you. We just want to talk about the info.
Appreciate that, baby. I'd hate to
everything we talk
hunt
about,
you all down.
All the sources will be linked in the description down below. So we got 10 things. Let's get started off with number 10. This is a direct continuation from the last game in more ways than one. Of course, as you probably know, it's a third-person action game where you control Kratos and son Atreus as they explore a perilous world of Norse mythology. Set in a semi-ish open world, you travel to different locations, you battle enemies, and engage in some light side quests and experience a pretty linear story. Now, if you played God of War 2018, then you'll know what to expect going in. I mean, from all the indications, this isn't a departure from the previous game, rather, it's a refinement. Many iconic elements of the previous game return here, like the single camera take. There are like no camera cuts or loading screens. Once the game starts, there are no cutaways or fades or
one unbroken shot like 2018. Okay. That's nice. I fucking love that.
Transitions, even during parts that traditionally would require a loading screen, like when Kratos travels between realms, they find clever ways to keep the single take.
It's all so good.
The soundtrack too. His involvement brought a very different sound to the world of God of War. His work on the previous game is some of his best work, and considering how much stuff the guy has been involved with, that's high praise. Now, one person who isn't technically returning for this game is Cory Barlog. His DNA, of course, runs really deep in all of the older God of War games, but for some people, he really became a household name as the director of God of War 2018. But for this game, he has handed the reins over to Sony Santa Monica veteran Eric Williams, who has also worked on pretty much every God of War game in some capacity. Next, over at number 9, let's talk story.
I actually didn't know that about Barlog. I thought he was full hands-on with this one just as well as the last one.
God of War Ragnarok takes place several years after the ending of the first game.
Atreus about 3 years.
Is now a bit of a teenager, and the legendary Fimbulwinter is in full effect. So, as the first sign of the coming apocalypse of the Norse mythology, called Ragnarok, this means that the prophecy that was revealed at the end of the previous game is coming true. Like the first game, the bond between father and son is tested, as Atreus wants to learn more about his identity. In the previous game, it was revealed that he is actually Loki.
That's right, baby! Mischief.
He wants to find a way to stop the apocalypse from happening, while Kratos wants nothing to do with it. He doesn't believe in prophecy and doesn't want his son to get involved in the affairs of the gods.
We're going to have a bad time then.
It looks like he goes along with him anyway. No matter how much Kratos wants to be left alone, he'll have to contend with many more gods looking to take revenge on him or stand in his way, like Freya, Thor, and the king himself, Odin. Of course, we have no idea what happens beyond this basic premise, but one thing we do know is that the game will have some kind of decisive ending, because Cory Barlog has confirmed that this game is the end of the Norse saga.
It's still weird to me, but I'm vibing with it.
Pretty logical. He didn't want it to take nearly a decade or more for the story to finally end, so instead of stretching things out over 3 installments,
I didn't like that.
He decided that things would conclude with the second game. But of course, like we always say, we're just gonna have to wait and see.
But also at the same time, like I get that, but like what's the rush for the next story? I don't mind it taking that long. That's just me though.
The one thing that people are probably most curious about, but that Sony has been incredibly secretive about, is the combat. The trailers shown so far only reveal
that shit, you big bitch.
Brief moments of combat, and for the most part, everything we've seen does look similar. Now, a lot of this we know thanks to Game Informer's exclusive coverage. If you want to check all that out, that's linked in the description down below.
Ooh, I may have to do that as well.
Have come out and said that when designing Ragnarok, they wanted to give players more choice when it comes to the combat system, which in this instance means that they wanted to make combat more dynamic. Both weapons from the first game return here. The Leviathan Axe and, of course, the Blades of Chaos.
Blades of Chaos.
In some of the footage that we've seen so far. And while those weapons look functionally the same, they got a few more moves to mix things up. I mean, the most obvious innovation is with the Blades of Chaos. Now you can grapple onto ledges,
which is so
quickly climb vertical surfaces.
I said that playing God of War 1 recently. Like, there's moments where he's jumping and he misses stuff from the original 2000 whatever game. And I'm like, why not just throw your fucking Blade of Chaos up in that, grab it, and then yeet yourself up to it, you know?
You can pull yourself towards enemies and swing around the environment and even perform powerful smash attacks after jumping off a ledge.
That's going to be fucking wicked.
Scene, there looks like a lot more vertical movement and positioning in combat encounters and combat arenas. Now, Kratos isn't just using the Blades of Chaos to pull himself around either. Like, it kind of looks like he uses them to pick up debris off the ground and fling it at enemies like a projectile in one of the story trailers. And Atreus, of course, remains an important part of combat. Even if he seems to act more independently now, we haven't seen really everything he can do, but the reveal trailer shows that he has access to runic summons, just like the first game.
Him riding that is wild.
The triangle button works. In the original game, all you could do with the triangle button is press it to recall the Leviathan Axe after throwing it. It was
one of the greatest features in video game history, but go on.
Mostly unused, so the developers added an additional function to it. There are now special triangle button attacks called weapon signature moves, which can imbue each weapon with a different element. The Leviathan Axe has a Frost Awaken, which imbues the weapon with
fucking
ice.
What?
Special
Triangle attacks are officially called weapon signature moves. Depending on whether you have the Leviathan Axe or Blades of Chaos readied, Kratos can infuse the sharpened steel with ice or fire. These elemental moves, called Frost Awakens and Whiplash, do extra damage by freezing or incinerating aggressors.
Triangle button attacks called weapon signature moves, which can imbue each weapon with a different element. The Leviathan Axe has a Frost Awaken, which imbues the weapon with ice, while the Blades of Chaos have Whiplash, which causes the blades to burst into flames.
They could have gave a better name, but
some changes to them as well. Instead
I
of
do like the
having
new
a single
version.
Shield,
Yep.
Kratos can pick from a few different kinds. Two that have been
What a weird
disclosed so far are the Dauntless and the Stonewall shields. The Dauntless shield gives Kratos a big boost if he blocks at the last moment. If you get the timing right, then it looks like Kratos will perform a devastating counterattack that stuns enemies.
Oh, that's
the
fucking
Stonewall
sick.
Shield, in contrast, is more about turtling. It can't parry at all, but
Turtle.
it absorbs attacks and builds up
Turtle,
an
turtle.
energy meter, which, when full, lets Kratos do a move where he kind of slams the shield into the ground and knocks back enemies. Now,
That's
those
also
aren't
pretty
even the
sick. You
only
could
two
chain that
shield
shit together
variants in
so
the game.
cool.
Apparently, there's going to be more with even more skill-based ones to unlock as the game goes on, and we can't wait to see those. Next, over at number 7, here's another element of the game that they've been pretty secretive about, but we've seemingly discovered a few interesting tidbits. Now, we mentioned that the Blades of Chaos can sometimes grapple now, and that doesn't stop at pulling Kratos up ledges or yanking enemies. He can also grab onto highlighted swing points to get across large gaps. This all plays into the developers' drive to make the world you explore have more variety.
God damn, the game's so beautiful.
Now that Kratos no longer needs to carry Atreus everywhere, the designers can really go nuts with Kratos' movement. Puzzles involving the Leviathan Axe are still here, and you can still command Atreus to perform certain context-sensitive actions in the environment.
I am a big slut when it comes to the puzzles.
Variety to these kinds of puzzles this time. One major gameplay difference is that instead of using a boat to navigate the hub world of
we use a bobsled.
Kratos now uses this cool sled pulled by two wolves named Speki and Svanna.
They're literally doing the fucking Iditarod.
The lake has frozen over, so sledding seems to be the only way to get around. Boats are still here, though. It looks like they're used to explore more temperate climates that we're going to see in the game. And one interesting thing we found is that instead of enemy placement remaining static for the entire game like in the previous entry, in Ragnarok, old locations will be populated with new and more powerful enemies when you return to them.
Oh,
enemy encounters in
fucking
optional areas also change as the game goes on and become more populated with more difficult enemies as you progress through the story. Now, next over at number 6, let's talk about the new enemy gods. Now, just from the trailers, it's obvious that this game will have a lot more
fighting
god
Freya
action than the last game. This time, of course, Kratos is going to have
Look
to take on
at
Thor, the Norse
it.
god of thunder. Seeking revenge on Kratos for killing his half-brother Balder and his sons Magni and Modi.
Fuck them
Thor seems
kids
to be
and your
shown as
brother.
every bit and equal to Kratos in combat. Now, one of the coolest details is how he recalls his weapon. At the very end of the
Snaps his fingers.
we see Thor snap his fingers to recall Mjolnir, his famous hammer. Now, from Mimir's many stories from the first game, we know that the Thor of God of War is far from the MCU version of the character.
No
a lot
shit.
Of people know. This guy is a psychopathic brute who, in many ways, is a mirror to how Kratos used to be, this single-minded killing machine. Now, another god out for revenge, of course, is Freya, the queen of the Valkyries and mother of Balder,
killed your
the main
son,
antagonist of
baby.
the previous game. She wants Kratos dead for killing her son, and considering she was an ally for most of the original game, it's likely that their relationship will change somehow in this game. Or Kratos kills her, maybe. I don't know. Anything can happen.
I don't know how that's
here,
going to play out.
The Norse god of war and laws also plays a major role in the story. Atreus seeks him out, hoping that he can help him stop Ragnarok, but when they find him, he's a very different character to Kratos. So that should be.
Yeah, because we definitely thought he was dead. So I don't know.
The biggest question mark is the king of the gods himself.
Okay, I was going to say, I don't know if we're going to fight Tyr or not, but I imagine he'll be more of a companion along the same lines as Atreus, or as Freya, but... Huh.
Odin. The one-eyed raven is central to the story of Ragnarok.
It's literally Odin.
But we've only gotten a brief glimpse of him in the shadows.
So we are saying that this is Odin.
Story trailer.
Okay.
Odin, of course, is a god with many names and is known for being both wise, mysterious, and even treacherous. I think it's safe to say that his approach to fighting Kratos will be very different from Zeus, but we're interested to see how that actually plays out. Now, next over at number 5, one of the few complaints people had about the previous game was the overall lack of enemy variety. We definitely felt it, but it doesn't look like it'll be a problem.
I don't think I complained too much when I was playing it.
With new types of enemies. Let's get the returning enemies out of the way. Draugrs are, of course, back, along with
annoying-ass
trolls and
Draugrs.
insect-like
Rip 'em in
dark
half.
elves. Almost everything else seen in the trailer is new, though. There's a giant crocodile-like beast that has a leaping lunge attack.
I just want to pet him.
With bows and arrows and some kind of whip that they use to yank Kratos.
Well, that's going to piss me off.
Creature.
I want to pet him too.
Frog monsters
and those guys
that spit poison, an armored warrior with a glowing purple glaze.
I'll fucking pet him too.
Cool.
What's it matter?
And the strangest of all is this gigantic swarm thing that
big ass
moves around like a worm in Muspelheim. One of the most
that fucking lava hentai tentacle. I'd pet it.
Notable enemies from the previous game are, of course, the Valkyries, who were
I'd pet her.
So difficult that they were bosses in their own right. Now, in the story trailer, it looks like they're back with a vengeance and they're teaming up. Both Hrist and Mist take on Kratos at the same time here. We don't know if this is like a special boss encounter or if all the Valkyries are back, but the thought of fighting two Valkyries at the same time is pretty scary. There
fucking
are a few
miserable.
New allies as well as
they
some
can get
returning
petted.
Characters. Mimir, of course,
I'd pet him.
is back with his many stories and lots of dialogue, along with the dwarves Brock and Sindri. Another new
I'm not going to pet Brock and Sindri, but they can get head pats.
character who gets some focus is Durlin, quoted as an Usman ally, who you meet in the realm of the dwarves. Tyr is,
I'd scratch his chin.
Going to be some sort of ally, but another more mysterious character is Agarbauda. We don't know how to pronounce that totally right, but this is a female giant in Norse mythology who's the wife of Loki and the mother of both the world serpent and Fenrir the wolf. This is all direct from the mythology. The game's context, we have no idea how it's going to be implemented, really. Now, speaking of Fenrir, they show up in the cinematic trailer in a very threatening way, but considering Fenrir is destined to fight and kill Odin in Ragnarok, it's more likely that they'll end up being an ally in some way. That's not even the end of the wolf allies, too. The end of the story trailer shows apparently Skull and Height, the wolves whose father is Fenrir, chase the sun and moon across the sky just
for
like
eternity.
In Norse mythology.
For eternity, that's their whole job.
Kratos and Atreus, and if you look closely, you can see that one is white and the other is black.
Just like the wolves that pull on the sleds.
Yep. Kratos' sled. Are they the same wolves? We don't know for sure, but it's interesting. Next, over at number 4.
I wonder if there'll be some sort of time dynamic between, since that is Loki's wife, if it goes through something, maybe, I don't know even how it would play out, because we've seen the stone carvings and the premonitions about how things play. Maybe they're younger versions of their future selves, as we all are, but Oh man, I don't know. I got it thought in my head. I don't know how to express
in
it.
God of War 2018, even though you had access to the Rainbow Bridge to all the 9 realms of Norse mythology, you could only travel to 6 of them total in the game. The realms of Vanaheim, the home of the Vanir gods, the Dwarven realm, which we're not going to even bother trying to pronounce,
Nidavellir.
and Asgard, of course, the home
Or
of
wait,
the gods.
Nidavellir. I think Nidavellir was just in the MCU. I think it's pronounced differently in actual Norse mythology.
Were closed to you.
Like
Svartalfheim, that's not going to be the case. All 9 realms can be explored this time.
And this is the realm of the dwarf gods right here. This is their homeworld.
It seems. The trailer.
Okay, so it's not Asgard.
Of the dwarves,
yes.
Midgard, Alfheim, Helheim, and Muspelheim, but other areas are left out. Will some of the realms just be a place to do side quests like how some of the realms were in the original game, or will they all be fully featured areas? We don't know for sure, but game director Eric Williams has come out and said that the ones you've seen before are going to feel new again. So
nice.
That's cool.
Nice.
Now over at number 3, if you're curious as to how long the game is going to be,
I hate y'all.
According to people out there who have played the game already, and this isn't completely confirmed, the main story is said to take about 20 hours to finish and 40 hours to 100% complete. Again, this isn't all confirmed. Some of this is just floating around the internet, but still, with a lot of people sitting at the original game anywhere from 30 hours or more, depending on what they did and how they played, it seems like a pretty good length for this type of game and a follow-up to the last game. But again, we don't know.
I think with so much stuff to do, it should be between 30 to 50 hours total.
For sure, until we actually put out a video reviewing the game. Now, down at number 2, let's talk graphics and accessibility and stuff. There's been a lot of talk lately about console games being locked to 30 frames per second.
Which is fucking weird.
No modes, and don't worry, it seems like God of War Ragnarok has graphics options.
Yes.
Between full 4K resolution at a targeted 30 FPS.
Don't want that.
A dynamic resolution upscaled to 4K at a targeted 60 FPS.
I would rather do that.
That means you can play God of War in glorious 60, at least if you're on PlayStation 5. Now, Sony hasn't revealed the settings for the last generation version of the game, but the previous entry saw a capped 30 FPS on PS4 and PS4 Pro, and that's likely to remain the same. Now, another more positive bit of news about the settings is
I want to play it on
the
60.
game will have more than 60 accessibility options, similar to the stuff seen in recent Sony games.
Oh, that's fucking sick, brother.
Horizon Forbidden West. It should be pretty.
What'd he say?
Sony games like The Last of Us Part 1 and Horizon Forbidden West.
I said Horizon Forbidden.
People who need it, along with those trophy hunters who want a little help finding all those little collectibles in the environment. Now down to number 1.
I do have the platinum.
Some housekeeping info.
I do have the platinum.
Finally launches on November 9th
for God of War
PS5
2018
and PS4. Regarding a possible PC release, Cory Barlog has said that he has no idea if Ragnarok will come to PC, and that's up to Sony if they want to do it. But just looking at Sony's recent push into PC markets, it's likely that the game will eventually show up on the computer. It may be a few years before they get around to porting the game
it has to.
But it's likely that you will see it there eventually. Now, of course, with the rising prices in the world, the PlayStation 5 will retail for $70 in the US, while the PS4 version is going for $60.
I'm not saying that we got the collector's edition, but the collector's edition is en route.
But unlike Horizon, there is no free cross-generational upgrade. If you've got the PS4 version, then you gotta pay a $10 premium to get the PS5 upgrade. All that, and there are 4 different editions of the game, only one of which actually gets you a physical copy of the game. Yeah, it's one of those collections that inexplicably
doesn't make any sense,
but no physical copy of the game. And that about covers it, but we still have so many questions.
There's so many questions.
More about Kratos in between the events of the old games and the new games. What's the deal with that mermaid? Is Atreus literally the father of a world-eating serpent and a giant wolf? How close are they going to tie to real mythology? We want answers, but thankfully, we won't have to wait very long. So let us know what you're looking forward to most with God of War Ragnarok, what kind of expectations you have, hopes and dreams, anything at all about God of War. Let's talk down there. If you like this video...
My expectations are through the fucking roof. Through the roof for this game. It has to be borderline perfection, right? And I hate to put that expectation on this team's shoulders for development, but 2018 was so good. And they mentioned that in the last video we watched about we know the expectations are high and we know we have to bring it. And this only being the second game, we're not getting a trilogy, so we have to wrap it up. We have to wrap up Tyr. We have to wrap up Freya. We have to wrap up Odin. We have to wrap up Thor. One of two things. Either they're playing this as this is the last game in Norse mythology, bing, bam, bop, and they do wrap it all up, or we're left with a lot of questions and a little bit of a cliffhanger, and we do actually get a third game, which I don't see them going that way, but it would be a good got your nose type thing. Now, I don't know if I have any big questions. My big question is, are we going to wield Mjolnir? That's the only thing I really care about. I have my story expectations. I expect us to go through and to kill all of the gods. The first game did so good setting up Baldur, but like, if we have Freya as like this boss that kind of like can get you from any angle or can show up at any moment, that'd be really nice because she's hunting you down. She's in certain places. Yeah. I would like that. I don't think we fight Fenrir. I think, like they said, Fenrir is an assistant to us. If we don't fight Odin and it is Fenrir end up, does his thing like he does in Ragnarok, I would be super disappointed. I imagine we fight Odin. That's the thing, though. It's like, Odin the final boss or is Thor the final boss? That's going to be the huge question. I would make Thor the final boss. But Odin's not a fucking pushover either, bro. So, I don't know. I don't have too much to say at the end of this. Let me know what you're actually looking forward to with this. Because, like, we had all those games in Greek mythology, and it sucks to only get a couple in Nordic mythology because there are some other mythos I would like to see Kratos in. And if he takes Atreus with him, it is one person from Greek, one person from Norse, kind of like out and about. If they bring his wife or Mimir along, how that dynamic would work. But like, where do you go if you go into Celtic, or if you go into like not a feudal Japan, but like a Japanese mythology, or any of the other ones? How's that going to look? Or Egyptian even. I just think you should flesh out more the Nordic stuff. There's so many cool things they could do, but I get it. I don't want this to run too long. Looks like I'm already been recording for 25 minutes. I'm going to go, or 23, 25. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up and have links and everything in the description box down below. A playlist up on screen. As always, check back for gameplays, commentaries, news, and updates. Later, nerds.